we are doing the ninth session here, and we're really happy that we are getting like-minded people like Shahana, who comes in the session and tries to share about their thoughts about the entire book that she has written. So Kitabnam is mostly about a book rather than the author and how the book gets its shape and it comes to us. So that's the entire journey how we would like to portray in Kitabnama. And here we also like to talk to the participants and give a flavor of a roundtable conference, a roundtable discussion across a cup of coffee. Things have gone virtual for the obvious reasons, but we are making the most of it. And I'm so happy that just because of that, we are also having authors from away from Mumbai. Otherwise, maybe our mindset would have been stuck between the boundaries of the city. So rather than spending or wasting any more time, it's exactly 7:30, and it's time for me to have the pleasure to introduce today's author to all of you. Today we have a very interesting person with us, Sahana Ahmed. Why I'm saying interesting because everyone is different from each other, but I personally got very impressed when I read about her biography. So I really try to make a small, I should say, like say the entire biography of Shahana in a nutshell in 5 minutes because that's how the time slots are divided. But then I lost hope. Then I thought that okay, let me just pinpoint the very on the top or the cream layer of Shahana's biography. Well, the most important thing that really excites me about Shahana is when in her biography it is written that she is a graduate from Institute of Hotel Management in Kolkata, and Kolkata being my hometown always makes me very much nostalgic. But apart from that, she is born in Katwa, and the another the most uncommon thing about her is that across her school days she had to change 11 schools because of her father who was in the army. Shana, if I'm wrong, just let me know.
No, actually, it's 11 schools officially.
Okay.
And then I have been to other schools as well where I was not registered as a student.
My goodness.
So,
so I think people are much more curious. And beyond that, she at present is the tourism like holds a master's degree in tourism management as well, and she is the president, the national president of Rural Tourism Council of WICCI. Before going into more into depth, even WICCI seems to be a very interesting platform. I have visited the website and I've seen the work people are doing. I would request Shahana to give a small brief about the WICCI and what exactly this Rural Tourism Council and National President. A bit of that flavor, please.
right. Thank you so much, Indranil, for such a great introduction. And I must say, first of all, Shubha Vijaya, season's greetings to everybody.
Yes, Shubha Vijaya to all of you and happy Dashera. I really would like to extend this wishes on behalf of the entire Vibgor family to Shahana and to all the participants today and those who will be seeing the video later on across YouTube.
Thank you. And it's such a pleasure to be on this platform. Like you said, it's more about the book than anything else. And it's really, really a pleasure to be here. So about WICCI, it's the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They have 160 plus sectors represented on their roster. And I head the Rural Tourism Council. I started this in the first week of July this year. And by now we have about 200 people across India in 20 states. We have state councils and we are working towards the promotion and advancement of rural tourism. Also trying to create an awareness about what exactly rural tourism is. So it's been a very, very, I would say, fulfilling journey so far. And it's very different from my other work as an author, as a creative writer. So yes, I take life as it comes. I like to go with the flow. So when this opportunity came to me, I didn't say no at all. I said, why not? So here I am.
Yes, and beyond that, now since we are here on the connection of a book, let me tell you that Shahana's short stories and poems have been published in India, UK, US, Australia, Canada, Singapore, and I think I should not. As I told you, 5 minutes for me is really short to give a introduce Shahana to all of you. So now let us come to the combat skirts. Now, first and foremost thing, Shahana, I'll be very honest. The title is very catchy, and when you have sent me the biography, at that point of time, things were not so much relatable. But now, when I read your short biography across your website, somehow I don't know, I may be wrong, but somehow it relates that the character in your story and like Sabah, if I'm not wrong, Sabah and you, is there any connection between you both to some extent?
This is like, if I had an FAQ about the book, this would probably be the most common question. But yes, Sabah and I definitely share a background, but this is not autofiction.
Okay, okay.
Yes, it's all made up. Unfortunately, a lot of people think that all the boys in the book are real as well, and
No,
they
no,
were not.
I'm not going to that part. I'm not going to that part because
No, but
that is absolutely
most
personal.
women,
Yeah.
Rameen, most women are very interested in the boys, and they're like, "Where are they? We want to find out." And I'm like, "No, they're not real."
No, I related a connection when the army part came into common. So then I realized that because usually this happens that whenever a child in the army family has a different a way of upbringing, which later on when they move to I should say the social world,
Civil,
yeah,
civil
the
word.
civil world rather. So they start comparing his childhood was like this, why not mine? Mine was this, not her. So I think it's a very common thing which happens, which most of my small list of friends, those who are related to army families, have these discussions. Usually we have. But now let's then come to Sabah. Let's come to combat skirts, and I would request you to introduce a book about, in a nutshell. It should be your pleasure to introduce combat skirts to
Sure.
all of us. Yeah.
So I'll tell you a little about the book, and I'll also give you the background on why I wrote it. So,
Yes.
Combat Skirts, it's a coming of age story that is set in an army girls' hostel in the Calcutta of the 90s. So, this is 1 year in the life of Sabah between Pokhran II and the Kargil War. So, what happens in her personal journey, and it's all enmeshed with what's happening in the world around her as well. And the reason I wrote the book, like you mentioned, I have short stories and poems, published in literary journals around the world. So I was more interested in writing literary fiction. But then I wrote a short story for Juggernaut Books, and this was in August 2016. And all the editors at Juggernaut, they loved the short story. The short story was based in a military special train. So a special train is when the whole battalion is moving from one station to another, and everything from cattle, poultry, weapons, vehicles, everything goes on, a train, and then they move. So I had written a short story based with that backdrop, and everybody at Juggernaut was like, "We want you to write a book with a similar backdrop." And that is when I was told to write a love story based in the army. And there were many books in the market at that time that were about army wives. So I was like, how can I make my, first of all, I don't want to be writing chick lit. And then what do I write that makes my book different from the others? So I decided to write about army daughters. There were no books about army daughters. And that's how I decided to use my own experiences living in an army girls hostel and weave a story around that. So that is how Combat Skirts came about. And it's not my story, but yes, I have used a lot of my experiences, uh, incidents that happened with my friends, and even the timeline with, Sabha and my timelines don't match. But I wanted to bring a flavor of Calcutta into the story. There's a very strategic reason I have based the novel in Calcutta. If you read it, you'll come to know. So I wanted to use Calcutta and the whole vibe of the city in the book as well. So that's how I wrote the book. You're
Okay,
on mute,
yeah.
Indranil.
Sorry. The more and more I'll get to hear Calcutta, especially at this part of the year, I'll get more and more nostalgic.
And it's always Calcutta. I like to call it Calcutta rather than Kolkata.
Yes. So that's how we have started listening to the city about since childhood. Kolkata is more okay. That's a different debate. Let's not go into that part today. So now the main thing is that since you have related this to an entire city, and I understand the emotions and the vibes are pretty strong. Have you ever like? I hope you have your roots in Kolkata still. So have you ever like made any kind of initiative like putting up the book for a small gathering, or like just like usually nowadays people don't use the term as a launch. They maybe like some promotional events, the term like that. But apart from that, there are sometimes a friendly gathering where people usually bring their own books and they share. So anything you have thought of or you have done like that in
I
Calcutta?
would love to do it, Indranil. Funnily enough, I've not launched the book formally.
Oh, is it? Okay.
No, I have not. Most of the events have been, either online, or I have conducted a lot of workshops across India.
Okay.
So that's how I have spoken to my readers about the book, but I've never had a formal launch or a commercial activity as such. So I
No.
would love to. I have spoken to a few people at Oxford because, that's one of those bookstores I love. So
Yes.
maybe once the corona situation is a little better, I would like to go back to Calcutta. My parents still live there,
Okay.
so definitely I would like to do something
Yes,
around
I think Oxford is the first choice for most of the authors in the city, and they really do arrange things very like it's very neat. So people are like very happy, and they have a very good coffee store. They have the
Yes.
other books. So like Bengalis with some kind of a foodie connection always gets more and more energetic into that kind of a session. So I really wish that this happens, and please let me know if that is planned. And if unfortunately I'm not there, we have a very big family of with your family in Calcutta as well. So we'll definitely pass on the message so that few of them on behalf of Vidyor really comes to appreciate and say thanks to you. So now let's move on to Sabha, a little more about Sabha and how is she in nature and small activities. Maybe after you give a brief, we can have a small session of reading from the book as well from you.
Right. So should I start with the reading,
Yeah.
or
No problem. You
should
can
I tell
start
you
with
a
it.
little about?
Anything,
Okay.
whichever way you wish. No problem.
So I'm going to be reading a passage which comes on page 3 of the book. So this is like not the first passage, but something that comes right after Sabha is introduced in the book. The guardians were my local guardians. Uncle and Papa were course mates, and the wives had had an enduring relationship. They had endured years of bitching and backbiting, only to bond over the shared resentment of greater adversaries. Now that the Kadian daughters were settled, Auntie had plenty of time to devote to my welfare, just by luck. She came to pick me up at the guest room. Your mother didn't tell me you had so much baggage. Well, I had but one suitcase, one bedding roll, and one small trunk. That was less than what people carried on holidays, and I was here for 5 years. I kept my mouth shut and helped driver bhaiya load the boot. So in the army, we call the bacha party calls the soldiers bhaiya. So Auntie had not wasted her trip to Fort William. She had been to the CSD and stocked up on her monthly quota of toothpaste and tomato ketchup. Her subsidized purchases now sat on my side of the seat in a carton-marked Pond's Dream Flower talc. I adjusted the box and squeezed myself into a corner. Auntie climbed in and we were on our way. Fort William had the air of a general and the grace of a grandma. Offices, bungalows, barracks all seemed to have been whitewashed into a handsome military uniformity, embellished with command insignia and a decommissioned battle tank or two. I had arrived late last night. All I had seen were the Kitchener House mess and the Granary guest house, and the library, of course. People still called it St. Peter's. We left from the south gate. The Jonga sped along the Maidan, then took a detour into the racecourse. We emerged onto AJC Bose Road in front of the few officers' enclave. That is where Mrs. and Lieutenant Colonel A.K. Kadian lived. We didn't stop, but I was told I could visit anytime. I nodded dutifully. Auntie took over as my city guide, pointing out landmarks as we passed them. Embarkation headquarters, Victoria Memorial, Grandview, PG, Nandan. I could hardly keep up with the barrage of names. I concentrated on the hoardings instead. Judging by the wares advertised, Calcutta seemed to run on gold, saris, and mustard oil. We reached Baliganj Maidan camp around noon. The Jawan at the sentry post came forward, and driver Bhaiya asked him where the girls' hostel was. Go straight 200 meters, the sentry said. As he spoke, he darted me a look of open disdain. I was 17. That was a look I had never seen in the eyes of a Bhaiya before.
Yes. I can literally can imagine the roads while you were because it's like and it's so wonderfully expressed, especially when you talk about the details of the city. So that's so well explained, and I'm sure that people those who have resided in Calcutta must relate to this entire picture. It could be like so much vibrant. So this is really a very good introduction, and I'm sure Sabah is going to have a series of incidents. Now, this usually happens that, as you told, that personal experiences sometimes, even if not with yourself, with one of your friends or colleagues or relatives, which always influences your writing. In this book, if you may not name, but which one incident was not yours, but you had in your mind that in the book I should include this on top of your mind. I should say that if you don't want to name anyone, don't name because let's keep the secrecy out there.
Many characters are composites of people from real life, and those people know who they are, so
Okay.
it's not a problem.
Okay.
And they were like, "Oh, I am in your book," and they were very excited. But yes, I have used many of my hotel management experiences, even though Sabah is a law student in the book. I have used many of my experiences as a hotel management graduate because Sabah, to earn pocket money, she starts going to these catering events. And I have used, if you remember, Lakshmi Mittal's son got married in the late 90s. So I have used that whole incident in a chapter. Then there was a meteor shower in the late 90s.
Yes,
I have
yes,
used
yes.
that. Yes. So all the girls and some boys, they go to, a rooftop and they're watching the meteor shower, and then they get a warning letter from the hostel authorities. So all that happens. There's a lot of drama. And yes, I've tried to keep all these incidents, even though they are very, very non-incidental to the whole story, but I've tried to keep them historically accurate. So, if somebody's birthday is on November 8th, so what happened on November 8th in 1998? So, like that, I have used many, many incidents, and I have been very lucky to be surrounded by very interesting and naughty people. So I have used all their experiences in the book, and I wrote this. The brief I was given was that you have to cater to the readership was the target readership was young adults or late teenagers. And I've had people read the book who are like 18, 19, and they're like, ma'am, आपने इतना सच कैसे दिखाया? And like, okay, I am old now, but I have also been to college. And then my father's colleagues who are very senior in age and service, they have loved the book. If you go to the Amazon page, most of my reviews are from men. So even though the book is about girls, it has. I'm very lucky that it has appealed to a whole range of ages and both genders. And I've been told it's a very visual book. So it's also been signed on with the Story Inc., which is India's leading agency for book adaptations. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. The book is with the producers. Let's see what happens.
Okay, no, that's really nice, and I really wish this happens. And before that comes into a motion picture, I must read the book, that I should say, because this I have already found. I don't want to name the book, but one of the bestsellers which has been in the year of 2015, 16, at that age, at that time, and no, I think before that. So I read the book and I loved the book a lot. Then I saw the movie and I somehow didn't because then I started comparing that in the book. I had my own imagination when I read, and I have already made a plot. Now that plot was so much into me that my subconscious was not ready to accept the plot, which the motion
Was
picture.
this an Indian? Was this an Indian book?
It is an Indian book, but it was made in a bilingual. I hope you can
probably guess which was. I was very, very disappointed by one of the adaptations of a very nice book.
Yes, and let's not name it. I'm sure you can understand which one it is, because the movie also came recently, not too back, and I was very disappointed. I was very disappointed because the book was really like, it gave me goosebumps each and every page I read, and somehow. So it's so that's why I wish I will read the book before it is adapted and made with some alterations. Now let's come to the participants. We have a lovely set of participants today. Now, when we are talking about old memories, which people would love to recollect. Now, I understand when I was one of the most notorious student in the class, all the teachers used to really like shout on me, beat me, and even at one time I was asked to sleep in the class. The teacher gave me permission. You sleep in the class. You don't even stay awake. But on today's date, all those incidents make a lot of good memories, and I'm sure that if any one of my friend is going to write a book, I will be definitely capturing some pages, definitely. So I would like to ask the participants, like, let's not be, let's be honest for some time. We have been naughty at one or the other point, and that's good, because that's also a flavor of life, which I think everyone should taste and should not be devoid of it. So, which is one incident, though, that naughty incident in your school days or college days, which you'd love to share with us today? Anyone who would like to share? Subhashini is also not raising her hand today. Why? No, no, I understand. Okay, there is one more catch into it. She is still attached to a school, so she can't she can't be honest, and I'm sure that's where is pulling her back. But
no, it's. I'm just wondering कि क्या गिनाऊं मैं.
no, let's share one which is on top of your mind.
Okay, so no, I mean, it's not that we played horrible tricks or anything. It's just that there comes a point in time when I was in college. I mean, this is more from the college times, when no matter what we did, or we thought we were very smart and we could outdo our professors or our teachers, we anyway got caught. So whether it was giving an excuse for not sitting for their lectures and going and sitting in the canteen, the professors used to come to the canteen. Chai peete hain aur baat karte hain. Or when we go to the labs, then we are caught. So it was more of a, they were professors, we were students, fine, but it felt more like a family. I mean, where you play the truant, you get caught, and they let you off with a tap or a rap on the head and things like that. But at the same time, I do recall that when I was completing my master's from the same college, all my lab work and books were retained by them as a reference material for the next years to come. And that kind of, and even last year, before Corona hit, when I met one of my old professors, we were just crossing the road in front of Dadar because I'd gone to click that, making of the Durga Pratima. And we crossed each other and we stopped, we recognized, and, he recognized. So after so many years. So although the pranks that we played or cut their classes, didn't attend, got caught, despite that, this kind of a memories still live on.
Absolutely. And I still
I don't know
feel-
if I answer your questions,
No.
but that's most fond memory.
No, that's absolutely fine. But that also
Yeah.
reminds me that yes, when I was into my school, even in my 11th and 12th standard, I was in a boys' school, and believe me, we were beaten very badly. Like when we were caught doing some pranks, we were beaten very badly with like as if like we have done some crime. So, but nowadays I see students they even if they are like asked to pull their ears and everything, they make a complaint to the parents. So somehow I still feel that the bond, the connection, the fun, the frolic, and the entire ambience that was created during our school days, where there were no mobile phone, no gadgets, no digital environment. It's only like you go out to the field, you fall down, you get the cut, you just uh, stand on your feet again and you move on. And those things were much more raw, much more rustic. But I still feel that that was something which made us much more stronger today. I don't know, especially with this online classes going on. I just met one of my friends, a son, a few days back, when he didn't even speak to me because he was more involved into his mobile phone, seeing some videos, and he was least bothered with his own parents. People are getting, I should rather say, the children are getting very much unsocial. Maybe even after the corona, if they start moving out, they may not be facing each other, talking to each other. Rather, they will initiate a WhatsApp chat sitting right beside each other. So I really, I'm afraid about this generation to come up. I hope we have more and more interactions, even if it is online. There should be interaction rather than just classroom sessions, because with a lot of knowledge, if you do not like share it, or if you do not give it out, I don't think that's to be used. It's in a proper use. It's in the proper hands. So I just wish things get better there as soon as possible. We have been waiting for the good day to come, and I hope. I think this time everyone, most of the Bengalis, that after the Dashami has said the same prayer to Mother Goddess that let this end very soon. Let us have the next year Durga Puja without masks and without a lot of tension or any kind of pressure on your back end that something may happen. So all these things should end very soon. We really hope it happens. But till then, I think more and more involvement of art is very required. That's why we are doing Kitabnama, so that people get to know more new books. People are confined because I personally have seen that new authors, irrespective of their age, caste, creed, gender, they are not so easily accepted by the usual book readers. I'm not talking about the society, I'm not talking about the government, I'm not talking about those publishers and all. I'm talking about the readers, because they still feel that, okay, these are the best sellers and that's why we should read. It's not like that. There are new authors also, they're writing fabulous books, and everyone has their own way of expression, their own way of writing. And I personally have seen, although I have not read the book, that there are a lot of appreciation on Shahana's way of writing. So, Shahana, I would like to have a brief of what exactly was your mindset about the approach of writing the book. I should say, like it should be like the how you should frame and everything, because there are a lot of appreciation. I think you have, even you have read that this is something different. So what was that different factor that made the book so much close to everyone's heart?
So, Indranil, like I told you, I had written that short story for Juggernaut. That's when I had decided to become a writer. I used to write short snippets, and I used to write a lot of poems, but I never thought that they were good enough to go out into the world. Incidentally, my first publication credit was from the Journal of the International Flash Fiction Association, which is very, very tough to crack. So when that happened, I felt, oh, maybe mujhe kuch aata hai. So yes, so I'm probably one of the first people from India to get a publication credit in that journal. So then I decided, after Jagannath gave me the opportunity to write the book, I'm like, अच्छा, अब book contract भी है मेरे पास, but लिखना तो आता नहीं है. I've never written anything longer than probably a history exam sheet. So so I decided to go for a course. There's this University of East Anglia's creative writing workshop that happens in association with British Council and the Tata Literary Fest and Telegraph in Kolkata. It's run by a novelist, Amit Chaudhary. So I applied for that, I got through. And I was probably the only one who didn't really have a long list of credits, but I had a book contract. And so I went there to find out exactly where do I stand in the industry, in this whole ecosystem, because I was so new. And the kind of feedback I got from both the mentors is, it just blew my mind. I mean, if you know about Amit Chaudhary, he's not someone you can please easily, but he has been so supportive and so generous with his time. And he gave me such good, I would say, testimonials that then I felt that if this is happening, probably I know how to write. But it also made me wonder if writing chick lit was the right way to start my career in publishing. And that is when I got writer's block. I'm like, shayad main theek nahi kar rahi hu, I should go for literary writing. I had a chat with him also. He told me, whatever you write, try to make it as, you have a strong voice as a writer, try to preserve that. And like, I am writing about a teenage girl, I'm writing chick lit, boys and affairs and all that. How do I make this intelligent or interesting enough? That's when I decided to use a lot of puzzles in the book. So there's a character who makes crossword puzzles. There's a character who speaks in Pig Latin. And I tried to incorporate all these elements into the story in such a way that these take the story forward. So I think I have been very lucky to have received such praise for the book, and from very senior writers and people who know what they're doing. So I think the praise has come for the fact that I took a lot of risk with the language and structure of the book. So even though the theme is very casual and it's very commercial, the book, but the way I wrote it was different from the usual love stories that you'll find in the market. So for example, there is a chapter where the story is taken forward through a crossword puzzle. I'll show you. So I made crossword puzzles for the book. I learned how to do that. And yes, so lots of anagrams, and people talk to each other in Pig Latin. So after reading the book, readers have written to me in Pig Latin. They've given me reviews in Pig Latin. And it's very good to see readers being so involved in the journey of the characters. And like I told you, a few army wives have asked me, Abhi Adil kahan posted hai? Where can we find him? And I'm like, sorry to break this to you, but he does not exist.
My goodness, as I told all the participants in the beginning of the session, just as Shahana is a very diverse and a lot of surprise elements into her, the book is definitely a package of the same. Now, Shahana, what happens is that in the second set, when we start, we have a rapid fire round to the author. So I will just ask some questions, and we'll have some kind of a small fun session out here. The first question to you, that since Kolkata is into you and into me, and I usually find that almost every house in Calcutta is into some form of art. Uh, it is very common, and it's like how all the parents also look up to their. So few are even more than one, but usually one in common, except in a very rare case. So, what was your form of art when you were a child, or in the schools, like which you love to do, or rather you used to do?
So, everybody thought, growing up, my mom thought I'll turn out to be an artist, and yes, so that was something I was good at. I don't know how good, but I never really learned anything formally because my father moved so much, and I studied in 11 schools. That was after a period of homeschooling. So I started formal education in grade 3. So, there was a lot of, we were not stable as a family long enough. We didn't live in any place long enough to enroll in any form of training classes, but I've learned Bharatnatyam. I'm sure I was really bad at it. um, Obviously, being a Bengali, you have to learn how to sing. So in the evenings in Arunachal Pradesh, all my friends were, playing by the golf course and in the valley, and I was doing Saregama. so, so that was something that my mom forced me to do. Then I think art was something I was naturally good at, and unfortunately, I did not pursue it. But in my hotel management, I specialized in housekeeping because that was something that I felt, had some synergy with the kind of aesthetics or the kind of sensibilities I had. So in my background also, you will see there's a painting. It's by a contemporary artist. So I like to support other artists now that I don't paint myself. So yes, I would say painting would be something. And my mom still tells me, "Itna kuch karte ho, paint bhi kar lo." So maybe I'll take up oil painting again.
Okay, so I'll come back to your painting part later on. Now we are already into one game, so I'm not interfering that one. So now the point is, you have started writing now. If given a choice that tomorrow, if you get a platter and you are asked to take up any one card of the entire set, maybe it's a painting, it's a singing, or any other kind of other formats of art, photography, or book you're already writing. So I'm just keeping that card away. So what would be your second preference or second choice if given like all the options in front of you? Which one you would love to do for yourself?
Sorry, I could hear you properly. You have given, what are the options you gave me?
No, all the options of art apart from writing a book. So you have all the options. So if you're given a choice, what will be your second preference which you would love to do for yourself? I'm not even going to like publishing it or selling a art form, for yourself, that you will do for yourself.
Filmmaking.
Filmmaking. Wow,
Yes.
this was, I was not expecting this at all. Okay, fine. So
I
how
am a big film buff. I am a total cinema buff. I was almost born in a cinema hall in Katwa.
okay.
So my mom was watching a film and she was taken to the hospital from there. So I guess that somehow stayed with me.
My goodness.
And
this is very interesting. I don't know
I'm
how.
very filthy. My sister tells me that you come across as this, really serious, and my writings are kind of serious. And she tells me, people don't know how filmy and how Bollywood you are.
Then you should be in Mumbai, right? What are you doing in Gurgaon?
I used to live in Mumbai. I
Okay.
know many people from theater there. There is no Motley production that I've not been to. I have, okay, now that we're talking about this, my 31st birthday gift was to sit in Tata NCPA and watch the rehearsals of Motley, which is Mr. Nasruddin Shah, Benjamin Gilani, and Akash Khurana's theater group. So they were rehearsing for Arms and the Man, and there was nobody in the theater. I was given the exclusive privilege of watching them rehearse and put up the props. And I also got to meet all the handsome men like Randeep Hooda and Darshan, who was not very famous then, but now he's obviously so well known after Mary Kom. So yes, in Mumbai, I was connected a lot to the film circles and people from theater. So yes, I think I should go back and live in Mumbai once more.
No, see, the point is now, I've seen even many of the artists from Calcutta, they try to shift to Mumbai because you see, this is like the epicenter, and the growth may be multiplied because the efforts you put in. But I think you already have your base strong. So I think I don't mind seeing one of your films coming up in one of the, I don't know when the theaters are going to open, but till then, the OTT platform, that's the only good way where we can watch good movies. Now you have already answered so many questions, but still I have one thing in my mind. Since you are looking forward that your book is going to be or maybe adapted in motion picture, uh, given a choice, like if a director comes and tries to mend a part of the story which connects to you or is close to your heart, what will your call? Like, will you object it totally, or you will have fair resistance, or you will accept it?
See, I have to be practical here. If so, my agent, Siddharth, he told me that Sahana, अगर एक movie बनती है, it's at least an investment of 10 crores. अगर एक series बनता है, तो 35 to 40 crores goes into that. So this book is my baby, but if it is film or anything in the audiovisual format, that's the vision of the director. I have to be very clear about that. And I don't want to interfere and be one of those difficult writers who will come and sit in the sets and try to dictate, although I don't think writers have that kind of power. But yes, I'll be clear about it that, they take the core material and then it's their vision. They have to cater to the market as well. But of course, there is a certain sensibility to the book.
Yes.
Which is very strong, and readers have given me feedback that this is one book which had no vulgarity at all. It was so entertaining without any kind of, a certain kind of language which has become very popular now. So I would like to keep that intact. Apart from that, if they want to change the sequences or anything, that does not really, corrupt the whole the essence of the book. I'm fine with what they want to do, because after all, it's their vision once they buy the rights.
Right. Now, are you in process of writing your next book, something like that?
I'm in the process of writing probably 20 books.
Yeah.
I have many ideas. But it's just that I need to be in a certain zone to be able to write. I don't take writing as a chore that I'll sit at the desk from 9 to 10 a.m. and I'll write 1,000 words. I don't do that. Writing to me is very sacred, and I do it mostly because I'm so much in love with words. I am not doing this commercially. It's a privilege, definitely, that I don't have to pay my bills through writing. So I want to take my time writing my next book, and probably what I had in mind, like I told you, I wanted to write something more literary as my debut book. Probably I'll do that with my second book. And right now I'm very, very busy with the Rural Tourism Council work that I'm doing. It takes up the whole of my day. So I don't want to write something wishy-washy. I want to give it my all. So I'll probably wait a little to flesh out the ideas that I have, but I do have many ideas.
Wow, we are not surprised with that answer at all. By now we have, I think every one of us know that yes, that needs to be with you. So now I think that's all from the rapid fire round. And with that note, I request you to read the second phrase or the second portion of the book that you would love to read for all of us.
So there is one chapter in my book which is based in Gangtok, because Gangtok is another place which is very close to my heart. So I made sure that there is at least one chapter which is based in that town. Would you want me to read that, or I can read another passage from Fort William?
We can go for both of them because for people, those who are not aware, let me tell you that for Bengalis, especially people in Calcutta, if you have a small vacation, then we usually tell it's a Dipuda. So Dipuda is like the three places where most of the Bengalis opt for the small vacations. That is Digha, Puri, and Darjeeling. And Darjeeling and Gangtok is very close by. People, those who go Darjeeling, they tend to cover Peling and they tend to cover Gangtok. And that's the reason why it's a very famous. And I'm sure that since we are making this entire session today so much into the flavor of Bengali and Calcutta, so let's start with the Gangtok and we'll come back to Fort William once again.
So this is from a chapter called The Boy from Mayo. I could understand Mom's excitement. She had been trying to fix me up with Faraz Mirza Beg for years now. Faraz was the younger son of Mrs. Sheila and Brigadier Shahid Mirza Beg, AVSM. Apart from the Ati Vishisht Seva medal, Beg uncle had all sorts of commendation cards. He was an excellent catch, I mean his son. My union with FMB was going to be a bed of roses, at least on paper. If we were to ever have fights, Sheila auntie was a counselor specializing in marital discord. My mother's plan was foolproof: marry Faraz. Except that love is the enemy of reason, or in my case, the lack of it. Then I'm just skipping a little part, and then I'm moving on to Gangtok. I had first met Faraz in Gangtok when he had come home from Mayo for the autumn break. Our fathers were posted in the same corps, and our families moved in the same circles, especially on Sundays, when the ladies met for rummy and the men met for drinks. Those were long drawn affairs, and the children were pretty much left to their own devices. That Sunday, it had been Sheila auntie's turn to play hostess. Mom had dragged me along to help with the canapes. One look at Faraz and I had understood Mom's intentions. To be fair, I had found him quite all right. A sure voice, the eyes of a cynic. His presence had demanded more than small talk. We were both the same age, but he was worldlier. He had asked me to call him FMB, that's what his friends called him. And I had told him I was there on canopy duty. You cook? Absolutely not. I don't know what Mom was thinking. You want to surprise her? How? Okay, so what did you have in mind? He was already washing his hands. Eggs on toast, cheese sticks. Boring. Let's see what we have here. He was scouring the pantry before I could feel properly insulted. The kitchen was big but still narrow for two people. I had limited myself to the spot near the sink and let him do all the hard work. He had handed me a packet of Lijjat papad and showed me how to roll them, like little party hats. Dhania, nimbu, soft, the air had turned delicious, but I had focused on my hats. I hadn't wanted to disappoint him. The salsa poppers were a smash hit. Faraz had let me take all the credit, and Mom, who had been losing so badly at cards, couldn't manage to lose her grin. She was probably getting visions of Faraz serving me breakfast in bed. Before the day was up, I had learned that Faraz could whistle like a pro and play a mean game of checkers, that he liked Boris Becker and hated Bayern Munich, that he listened to Led Zeppelin and collected vintage cookies. I had learned that he could wolf down a full casserole of chicken all by himself, bones and all. He had given me a tour of the house and taken me around the garden. He had plied me with orange squash all afternoon to reveal later that all the bathrooms were haunted. He had amused me. I had wondered if he was gay. I mean, I was a girl, he was a boy, and yet he was so normal. The boys in my class were idiots. They cried shiv shiv if a girl so much as crossed their paths. This one was different. Maybe he was cool because he was from a boys' school. Maybe they had classes on how to behave with the ladies. Before I had left his house, Faraz had asked me if we could meet again. He had wanted my opinion on some pictures he had taken. I haven't shown them to anyone, he said, not even to my friends. Those clowns have no aesthetics. How do you know I am better? I asked. Look at you, he had pointed at my parrot green sweater. Only someone with style can carry that off. There, he had done it again. Insulted me, applauded me. I had never met anyone like him. I couldn't wait to see him again.
This is really wonderful. I really, what a clean explanation. And I think I love the way you have written the English, not too much of heavy words. And it was like, to be very honest, was very clean and directly making an entire framework in the mind what exactly was happening. I love this. I love this one very, very much. Let's come to the Fort William, and it will be much more interesting if you can read for us.
Okay, so this is the third act, you can say, where everything has gone wrong, sort of. Okay. Fort William, Calcutta is the only fort in the world where not a single shot has ever been fired. The May Queen rehearsals made up for that. Army Officers Institute became a mini war zone, all because of Charu Prasad. She was participating. So Sabha, she is now participating in the annual May Queen contest in AOI in Fort William, which is a very kind of one of those things where big models have been discovered. So Lara Datta has been a May Queen, and Anushka Sharma, many people I can name, Selena Jetli, Neha Dhupia, all the defense, people with defense backgrounds usually are discovered at May Queen balls. So Sabha is now participating. So she's talking about that. It was a good thing she was, Charu, participating. Before I saw her, I wanted to be the oh no girl. If I didn't win, I wanted people to say, oh no, she lost. Now I was gunning for nothing less than yes, she won. There were 15 contestants. I was number 9. Anika was 10, Charu was 11. Minhas Mukherjee Prasad, poetic. The DJ welcomed us with Banungi Main Miss India. Questionable taste in music, but otherwise charming. Not a word we could use for the choreographer though. She was a shaven-headed spitfire named Babla, who was interested in nothing less than Baba Boom. The first day was spent learning to pose with an imaginary coin in our buttocks. Engage your core, ladies, don't drop the coin. So much for poise and grace. When I told Meghna is a senior from hostel, she cracked up. This is insane, I love it. But, of course, BUTT. Jokes apart, Babla knew what she was doing. She customized a walk for each of us, and I was asked to take longer strides. Don't walk like a crow, glide, make sweeping lines with your legs. I was grateful for Babla, as I was for 10 other things. So Sabha has been asked to make a list of 10 things she's grateful for. Family, friends, teachers, music, books, movies, food, water, nature, failure. Meghna looked at the list and said, you forgot something, Sabha. What had I missed? There could be 1,000 things I could be grateful for. What did Meghna mean? When I couldn't come up with a proper answer, she said, you, Sabha, be grateful for you. Over the next few days, two camps were formed, one with Charu and one, well, without her, namely me. There was much sniggering at my expense, but I didn't mind. I wasn't in the contest to socialize. Soon it was time for the sub-contests. We were marked on hair, skin, etc. I could only hope a lifetime of Haldi Besan Shikakai had done me some good. The pageant had generous sponsors that day. We got shoes from Henry and costumes from Shira Market. Anika had done well in the sessions, so she got first dibs on the evening gowns. She blew it on a red Valentino knockoff. She should have gone for the full sleeve bias cut gold lame dress. I scooped it up before anyone else could. Now the gown was free, but the underwear wasn't. The seamless bra and panty left me stone broke, and I had to borrow money for the salon. And I finally took the plunge and shaped my eyebrows. I came out looking like a chimp, but a pretty chimp nonetheless. So I had my walk, my gown, and my eyebrows. It was time to think of the talent round. What are the other girls doing? Meghna asked. Singing, dancing, mimicry. One girl is playing drums. What is Anika doing? Charu? Anika is singing. Charu has a monologue. Well, you can sing. You sing so well. What's the point? I already know I'm second best. It was Meera who told me what to do. The simplest solution is usually the right one, she told me. So then the rest of the contest preparations.
Okay. This is really two things that really I like. One is Shriram Market. I think that's something which hits my mind a lot, because nowadays we are more into shopping malls and all. Previously, back on those days, I think even when I was a child, in the new market is still called the new market. That's the hub. That's like our shopping mall at that point of time. And just at the back end, there was Shriram Market. That was more predominant at that point, because I think that was the first AC market where you have. Yes, that's the first AC market in Calcutta where you step in and you find the cool atmosphere inside. I'm very much happy with that. The second thing that really connects to me in this particular reading is that recently it was a fortune for us that we were a part of one of the fashion pageant, and I was a part of the jury. So when all these training sessions and grooming sessions were going on, we had to do a lot of photo shoots for the models, the participants. So the swimsuit round, this resort round, and all these things used to happen. And usually, since I was a part of the jury, I used to speak a very less with them, because you should not actually. You should not be too much of vocal with the participants directly. So, but I used to listen a lot. I used to sit at the place where exactly I can hear what they're talking a lot, and I used to overhear. I used to like keep my mobile phone in my hand as if I'm just doing some internet, but I was totally like what they're speaking. And usually there was a discussion. Okay, I was not that good today. She was more good. My dress had this problem, and I was like, I don't know, like when you were reading this particular small part of the book, I connected to that I hope none of them are listening to this. They will get to know.
So the climax of the book is the May Queen contest. Everything, all the politics that happens backstage, all the goof ups, all that is there in the book. I have never participated in the contest, but my sister was a title holder, so I used to, accompany her to the rehearsals, and it was so entertaining. Then I have friends who were May Queen, so I got a lot of gossip from everybody, and I put it all in the book.
No, that's for sure. But yes, as we are discussing all this, we should also remember that this small details when you're including in a story, it makes a lot of difference rather than a normal what we call a normal storybook to a detailed. As I told you, like when you are reading this book, when you are reading the small paragraph, it actually creates the entire story, and that's I think the success of the author to put the words in that particular order so that it builds up the structure strong with a good foundation. And I think I'm sure that we have already, with the small readout, has proven that this book is definitely reaching all our hearts, reaching to the hearts of the readers. And that's why people have appreciated absolutely, honestly, and without any kind of the other kind of paid, or other, I should say, referred uh, reviews usually that we come across. So I'm very happy. I'm really happy that this discussion was placed in Kitabnama today, and we get to know combat skirts. People, those who are seeing the video, the recorded video across YouTube, we are keeping the purchase link across the description of the video. So please, if you want to have a read of the book, please do not hesitate to click the link. And on that note, we are about to end the session for today. But before we end, we would like to give the opportunity to the participants if they would love to ask something or would love to share their own experience or something they have that in their mind to Shahana or to Kitabnama. They are free to share their experience. Yes, Kalalaji, please unmute yourself and you are free to say.
It's really nice meeting Sana ma'am, and it's really a very nice, interesting story. And I will also mention that the painting in your background is very, very, very pretty. Actually, from the beginning, I'm looking at that only.
Let me just tell you the artist's name. You can look him up on Google as well. His name is Amitesh Srivastav. He's a good friend, and I have quite a few paintings from him. So, thanks.
Very nice, and your story is also equally interesting. And thank you for coming to Kitabnama. I'm a big fan of Kitabnama and attended almost all. I missed one actually, but it's really interesting to attend Kitabnama. Thank you, Answer.
Thank you so much for your time.
Now, Ashana, before we end, as I told you at that point of time, we are keeping that painting part for at the end. So I'd like to say that when this COVID started, this pandemic started, we had a lockdown, unfortunate and totally unexpected. And since I always believe in art, truly from the core of my heart, that the only thing that can make a lot of difference without any violence is art. And you can express yourself, you can share a message, and this doesn't have a language, so that if anyone who's even not literate can get the message out of it. So what we did during the lockdown in the month of April, we usually celebrate the anniversary of the Pure in accordance to the World Art Day, and on that occasion, we intended to make an art scrapbook, and I should say that I'm very happy that the initiative was taken up by many participants, and most of them, those who have not even uh, have done any format of art before this time. We accepted digital format of art. We accepted various formats they wanted to give, and we created an art book. I would love to share the PDF form to you very soon. That art book was released virtually, and the art book was made available for free to all the viewers of our website for about a couple of months. We have kept that, and the main intention was to initiate or to influence people that you can always make art form rather than keeping in mind whether the straight line will be straight or not, whether the circle will be circle or not. But still, the movement of your brush really gives a lot of pleasure to your heart. And I think that message has gone to many. And I really want you to also be influenced. So I will definitely share that soft copy to you. Have a look. And if that influences you, and if you ever paint after this session, please do share with us. We'll love to see that as well. And I will also look forward for your next books to come. And I wish that Kitabnama also goes on. We have supports from the participants. We have support from the authors as well, so that we keep this discussion alive. And by that time, you also have your second book, which will also be a part of Kitabnama as well. And wish you also luck for the adaptation. So with a lot of nostalgia that you have initiated me today, I would like to thank you from the core of my heart for being a part of the Kitabnama today, being a part of this wonderful session and introducing Sabha and the combat skirts. So thank you so much, Shana. It was really pleasure meeting you and having a word with you and discussing with you. And I'm sure the same has been experienced by our participants. So thank you so much to everyone, and we look forward for the next session, which is going to be exactly after 14 days. On Saturday, we leave and we try to initiate the session every alternate Saturday. So till then, thank you so much, everyone. Stay safe and take very good care of yourself and your family members. And good night and stay well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vedkir. It was a pleasure being here. And I want to say thank you to my husband who has been patiently watching the whole show.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for
And the
being with
book,
us.
the book has
Yeah,
been
thanks a lot. Thank you. So I have been at the reading the drafts and stuff, and what she says is very simple reading for the viewers or the readers is excellent writing, and so she probably wrote 63 edits of the first chapter itself, and I have read all of them. So that's some little bit of the story behind the scenes. So I'm the in-house fan, and I'm always present. I love her writing, and really thanks for having this session also. It was lovely hearing her again speaking about the book. So wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. So we'll see you next time. Till then, good night. Goodbye.